Hey YouTube, Chicken Stubby here with a review of the Power Rangers Super Megaforce Deluxe Legendary Morpher, the Power Rangers equivalent of the Mobirates from Kaizoku Sentai Gokaiger. So included with this is the Super Megaforce Red and MMPR Red versions of our Ranger keys. The Legendary Morpher right there. Pretty much the same style of packaging as the Gosei Morpher. Really cool artwork up here, very reminiscent of Gokaiger's packaging, so that's really cool. Glad they decided to do something like that. Down here we have a bunch of Ranger keys, and these are supposedly going to be the ones that are released in sets. They're being released in sets of 3, and these are going to be the lineup as of right now. That is what we assume. So we got Super Megaforce, Megaforce, MMPR, Zeo, Turbo, In Space, Lost Galaxy, Lightspeed Rescue, Time Force, Wild Force, Ninja Storm, SPD, Mystic Force, and Samurai. So we skip a bunch of seasons, mostly the Disney ones, surprise, surprise. But anyway, biases aside, the only females in this is Ninja Storm Blue, and Samurai Red is actually the female version. You can kind of check that out right there. You see the little skirt. So that is Lauren. So pretty neat. Collect all 5 to unlock Deluxe sounds. No idea if any of the other team's keys will do things like this. But if you plug in all of the Super Megaforce keys in a row, you apparently get the theme song, which is the Megaforce theme song, I think. So nothing new. It is worth noting on the side here, under Legendary Ranger Key, it shows a flip gimmick, that there's 3 ways to play with these. You can take the Ranger Key, you put in the Legendary Morpher to unlock the sound. I'm not sure if it's going to be a different app or an update to the current Power Ranger Scanner app, but there will be an app that reads the Ranger Keys. There's a QR code right in this area. It's not on this picture, but there's a QR code in that area that the reader will scan to unlock a clip, just like the action card game cards are right now. And then there's this really weird thing that they do where you can like push them into each other and they flip open, and I don't know the rules or anything. It's really stupid, but they just really wanted to have 3 ways to play. This was picked up for $32.99 at Toys R Us. Toys R Us is currently the only place that stocks these, but they will be in stock at other retailers in a month or so. So let's go ahead, get this open, and take a look. Alright, so here we go. The Legendary Morpher, like I said, is the American equivalent of the Mobirates. I do have the Mobirates here. We'll take a quick comparison, but if you want to learn more about the Mobirates toy, I'm not going to do sounds or anything in this. Please take a look at my Mobirates review, which will be linked at the end of the video. So, it is a lot smaller. The Ranger keys are a lot smaller too. They're in fact incredibly little tiny things. But here we go. Here is the Legendary Morpher in all of its legendariness. It's quite a bit smaller than the Mobirates. Here is the Mobirates. So if we stick the 2 right here, you can tell it is a lot thinner. The key chamber is a lot smaller, and the screen area is quite a bit thinner. So if we open them, and then from the front you can tell it doesn't have Gokaiger on it, obviously. They just forego any words on there whatsoever. But everything else is pretty much the same. And outside of some silver paint, it looks pretty much identical to the Mobirates. Sans more screw holes. From the back here, again, also very much the same. If we flip them open, you can see right away that the screens are different. Basically, how the Mobirates worked is you had the 2 swords. When you put in a Ranger key, it would flip open to have the kind of skull and crossbones look. Whereas with the American release, the only thing that flips open is these little tabs up here, which will make the swords extend. So everything else is already kind of bent out of shape down here. So it is a little bit different. If that kind of thing bothers you, then, well, what can I say? But I do like the form factor. It is a lot smaller. It fits a lot more comfortable in the hand than the Mobirates did. There's a lot more grip to it, so that's always enjoyable. And like I said, the screen is thinner, which I like as well. So overall, it isn't too bad. The number keys are now a singular button right here. 2, 4, 5, 6, and 8 are all just a singular D-pad-esque button. All the other ones are just plastic. So you can't enter in codes or anything like that, but you can still press the button. So basically, if you flip it on, you might have been able to hear that. It is very, very quiet. You do have an LED up here. So it's a little bit of a shame that it is that quiet. However, I watched my friend Hassan's review, and he tweeted at Ranger Board, and they said that it could be because this is a phone morpher, and the phones that we've had have all been quiet. The Samuraizer toy was quiet, the Robo Morpher was quiet, and then this one is quiet as well. And so it could be because they don't want kids damaging their ears by putting the morpher up to their ears like a phone and then making a sound and it being too loud, which makes complete sense. But this does get louder, and we'll take a look at that. But that's all just some beepy noises. That's all you get. So here's a look at the Ranger keys themselves. In this you get MMPR Red and Super Megaforce Red. Gosei Red and Tyranno Ranger respectively for you Sentai people. They are quite a bit smaller than the Japanese key releases. Here is the Gosei Red Ranger key, and here is the Super Megaforce Ranger key. They're a hair under half the length. So it's kind of embarrassing a little bit, but these aren't bad. I mean, in terms of quality, they have just as much paint and detail as the larger keys. Sans a little bit in the leg area here. So I can't really fault them for accuracy. The paint job on them is actually pretty well done. And if you take a look at the MMPR key, I actually think the helmet is a lot better than the Japanese Ranger key counterpart. So I have to give them props there. The helmet is actually better on the little tiny Ranger key. But the cool thing about these is that if you flip up their hands and go like this, it's a spring-loaded little flip feature. So while these, the Japanese releases, you had to do completely manually, there was a one-click set that had a button on the side, but outside of that one-click set, that was the only keys that had that feature. But all the American releases, albeit tiny, will have that little flip feature, which is really, really neat. So I do like that. But like I said, they are quite a bit smaller. As you can see, they are definitely miniature. If it wasn't obvious, you cannot use the Japanese keys with the American Morpher, or the American keys with the Japanese Morpher, though you might be able to fit them in there somehow. The slot's small enough, I think. But you really won't get too far. And like I said before, there is a QR code on the American Ranger keys that will unlock a clip in the scanner app once it is updated to do such. But yeah, in terms of accuracy to the show, they're not bad. Like I said, the paint is good. When you flip it open, outside of the QR code being there, it's still accurate to the show. The only issue you have is the size. And you don't actually need to flip the hands up. It still completely flips open without the hand, and you can actually plug it all the way in with the hands down. But to be accurate to the show, you flip the hands up. They go yay and stuff, and flip them up. Anyway, I don't mind these. They are quite a bit tinier, but I don't know, you save some space on a display. But I like the detail that they presented in these. Like I said, the MMPR release actually has a better helmet than the Japanese Tyranno Ranger key. So I can't fault them. Yeah, they're tiny, but they're accurate, despite being tiny. And I can't really fault it too much for that. And the only issue really with the Legendary Morpher is the screen up here. And that's really not a huge deal to me. So I'm actually quite pleased with the aesthetics of both of these. So pretty cool. And like I said, I do like the form factor. So if we flip open this key, you slot it in right here. There is no click. With the Japanese one, when you push it in, it'll hear a click. There is no click on these, but you turn it.
Super Megaforce Red.
So sounds directly ported from the Japanese release. Sans the American Power Ranger name, obviously. And like I said, it did get significantly louder. you can actually hear the button presses now. So once the key's inserted, the toy is actually really loud. Again, the reasoning being the kid can't really hold it up to its ear like a phone when the swords are sticking out and there's a range key right there. But that's the reasoning, I guess. The speaker itself is actually all the way down here where the mouth would be, so I don't really see it as an issue, but the explanation was reasonable enough for me to accept. So there we go. There is an additional sound, so when you flip it off and flip it back in,
Summon Skyship.
here's Summon Skyship, which is the American name of the Gosei Galleon, the Super Mega Skyship Zord. Very creative with these names. But yeah, so that is it. Button presses don't do anything different. And you pop that out. Now let's take a look at the MMPR key. Like I said, you do not need to fold up the arms. There's plenty of clearance.
Mighty Morphin.
Now, unfortunately, it doesn't say Mighty Morpher in red. Outside of the Super Megaforce keys, all of the other individual keys are all, as of right now, from what we can gather by hacking the thing, you get just the team name. You don't get like Mighty Morphin Red or Zeo Blue or anything like that. You just get the team name. So a little bit disappointed in that. It was an opportunity for the American toy to trump the Japanese, and unfortunately it didn't happen. But it's still not all that bad. Like I said in the Japanese release, all you got, no matter what key you inserted, was Go Kaiger, or O Ranger, or Ju Ranger, whatever. So it's pretty akin to the Japanese release in terms of that. But like these, there is an additional sound for these. Older fans will recognize that right away as the Communicator beep. So it doesn't summon a Zord or anything like that, but just the Communicator beep. Apparently, all non-Super Megaforce teams' secondary sound is the Communicator beep, which is a little bit unfortunate, I think. It would have been really cool to have different sort of communication sounds or transformation sounds for the second turn, or even a summoning of the Zord, but alas, we get Communicator beeps. But that is it for this. It does come with a test key to play with while you're in the store. Basically, this one will activate Super Megaforce.
Super Megaforce.
Which, as of right now, there's actually no known key to actually get it to just say Super Megaforce. You always get a color. So that's kind of interesting and a sort of a reason to keep this, I suppose. I've also been able to get the Communicator beep with just this key, and then Time Force.
Time Force.
So by doing the Time Force again, it did the Communicator beep. So that's certainly a thing kind of worth to keep around if you want the Super Megaforce sound without a color, or you want Time Force a little bit early. But that is it for this. Like I said, it only comes with those two keys, but that's not really a bad thing. The Japanese release came with 3 keys. I would have liked to see maybe one more. Maybe normal Megaforce, but pretty neat nonetheless. If you are a Power Rangers fan, then this is definitely the way to go. For screen accuracy, you might want to pick up a Mobirates. The Japanese keys are accurate in size to the ones in the show, whereas these are quite a bit smaller. However, if you're a Power Rangers fan and strictly a Power Rangers fan, then this really isn't going to give you the sounds you're looking for, whereas this actually gives you the Power Ranger names. And as a toy, it is pretty much identical to the Mobirates. The Mobirates does have quite a bit more phrases in it, and the amount of phrases in this thing is really the only negative I have against it. I would have loved to see more Zord phrases or past colors or anything like that, and then they tumble because they can't fall. Or they can't fall, they can fall, actually. They can't stand. But apparently there is a couple weird sounds in this. There's Happy Birthday, Merry Christmas, and a phrase for Power Morphicon, which actually has me excited to think that they might release an exclusive Ranger key to attendees of Power Morphicon to unlock that sound in here, which is actually something that is very cool. Also, take a look at that when Morphicon rolls around next year. But as it stands, I think it is worth the pickup, especially if you are a Power Rangers fan. If you are kind of a PRN Sentai fan, the Mobirates is probably the way to go for you there. But I like the flip gimmick. I do not mind the size changes. I don't mind the aesthetic changes too. He's just going to stay like that because that's how he does things. But overall, I really do enjoy it, and I think it's definitely worth the pickup if you are a Power Rangers fan and want a little something to encompass the 20 years of this franchise. So I think they did a pretty decent job. There's a lot of things they could have did better, but overall, it's a pretty decent pickup. Thanks for watching. Take care and have a great one. Bye. Why do you have to do this, Troy? Why? Why, Troy? Why? At least Jason stands up. Bad Troy.